How you make this shit full screen? How you make this full screen? How you make this half ass screen?
One trip, zero worries about your travel budget. 6,800 global destinations on the list.
One thing I always wondered is how do people move an entire collection, especially with such a large collection, from city to city, let alone from country to country? We'll be talking about both of those, some TSA hacks and things that I've learned that are allowed and not allowed. Let's go. What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to Aromatics. So I've got one of the largest collections in the world of fragrances. I have mostly niche and designer fragrances, and I would say about 1,500 of those, if not a little less than 1,500, are Middle Eastern fragrances. I've got everything from oud to freshies to things that smell like buttholes, all the way down to things that smell amazing. And we review all of those fragrances. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But even more importantly, one of the things that I've always wondered is like, how am I gonna move these fragrances? I started off from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, and now going to a different country. So with all that information, I thought, what better way to talk about it than in a video? So in whatever stage you may be, whether you're changing from state to state or inside the state or even different country, you'll get all those answers here in this video. But before we start off, I want to first acknowledge the fact that I'm moving to another country, which is absolutely mind-blowing for me. It's mind-blowing, it's bittersweet, it's a lot of things. Born and raised in Washington, D.C., raised in Northern Virginia, Fairfax County. So I'm the oldest child, the oldest son. I'm not the oldest child, I'm the third child, but the oldest son. Growing up, I went through public schools and even private schools. During the earlier stages of my life, I went to Islamic Saudi Academy pre-9/11. I studied with the royal family, Al Saud, back when I was in DC, up until September 11 when the events happened, and then after that, they pretty much shut it down. After of which, I went to public schools, which was pretty crazy, a different change, if you will. And from then on, my life went to various stages and changed time and time again. From starting off into a sheltered private school, going into elementary school for a year, into a public school, and then into middle school, and then changing within cities in Virginia. I went from Virginia middle school to a Maryland middle school, and then to a Maryland high school for 1 year, and then fast forward to moving to Michigan. Once I moved to Michigan, I was in a Michigan high school, of which at that point I had experienced a lot of move and a lot of turmoil as a child, resulting in severe depression, OCD, and also learning to cope with ADHD. At the time I was too young, I didn't really realize what I was going through, but I realized that it was affecting my life tremendously. I know we're getting really backtracked, but I think this is pretty valuable to understanding where I came from and where I'm at here today. So starting from the 9th grade up until the 12th grade, my life really wasn't picture perfect. Actually, I went through a lot. I was involved in some gangs, which is one of the reasons why moving to Michigan was pretty necessary. And the only way to leave a gang is either you get killed, jumped out, or you move. And that's what we moved, fortunately. And the people that got me into gangs were friends, and friends are just a nightmare, basically. And they're also hindering to your success. And so from the 9th grade moving forward, I didn't really have many friends. I grew up pretty isolated, and that's basically what my life was. From going to school to going home and maybe playing some Call of Duty, I was always by myself. And so from an early age, I learned to basically stay in my own head, which caused a lot of mental stress leading into OCD, ADHD, which is also something that's pretty hereditary. So the whole OCD, ADHD. Fast forward to about 10th grade, I really wasn't doing that well. The depression showed itself in a multiple different ways of acting. I didn't really act out, but getting poor grades, getting expelled from high school, basically, with a GPA of like 1.6. So at that time, I had ended up going to a community high school, of which I was basically treated like a black sheep. And at this point, we really moved moved, my entire family moved away from my family, my cousins, etc. And the whole family was kind of like the black sheep, basically. And so I was this alone person that was always sitting in the back of the class, expelled from high school. It was kind of just like stay away from him, and I always stayed within myself. And it was a pretty lonely high school life. And so I always felt like, you know what, I don't need friends. If I want to have friends, I'll start a family. And so at an early age of 19, also I'm Yemeni, I decided to get married, which unfortunately didn't really work out while I was in high school. So that first relationship was over a span of about 5 years. It started at 18 and ended within the 5 years of that. I'm going to give you rough estimates. All of which, during those years, I was slaving at gas stations. I worked literally 6 to 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. My diet consisted of Red Bull and cigarettes, and I used to smoke, basically. And the entire time I always felt like life has something bigger for me. Life has something better for me. What am I doing? Like, this isn't, it's my world. I always had like a pessimistic outlook. I really stayed in my head. It was always negative until a lot of loss, basically. So fast forward after 5 years of a gas station life, barely living, I mean, not knowing what I'm going to do, no school, no ambitions, nothing for the future, and over time even developing more OCD and anxiety. Eventually my life started to crack, and the final crack was when that first relationship went sour. So we ended the marriage, and I ended up meeting someone, not a woman, a company per se, is called Kaba, and I ended up working as a computer software security. Basically the RFID cards where you go up to your hotel door and you put up those keys. I used to program them, etc. And this life consisted of traveling in nice cars, but also traveling basically all week, every week, and working from hotel to hotel and staying outside of the home. And it was an escape from my reality, basically. And I did this for about a year.